What was that face?
Oh,
Just seeing her, I just found it very so cute, just so heartwarming when she's in her element.
You do it again.
It's good to. Wow. Yeah.
Alright, welcome to my week 3 Married at First Sight Australia recap. Today we're covering episode 10, 11, 12 and 13. Let's go. So episode 10 picks up in the aftermath of the last commitment ceremony. We catch up with Tim and Sara and they're having like a post-game discussion about the conversation they had with the experts about the whole phone scandal. And what we see unfold here is a prime example of how Sara seems to gaslight and avoid any responsibility and just never take accountability for anything. Tim clarifies early on in the conversation that it's not an issue if he doesn't trust her, it's just the fact that it's weird that she was so suspicious when they were given this task. She then responds to this really valid concern and basically said that he's needy and insecure and she can't be around someone like that.
If you have to look through my phone, that means you don't trust me.
You were quite firm in the fact that you didn't want to do it, and you also...
That's not being defensive, though. That's being firm. Being firm on a decision is just saying, no, I don't want to do it. There's no in between. Like, it's either a yes or a no.
On top of that, she then has the audacity to tell him relax, which is important because if you saw in my earlier recaps, she told him off for telling her to relax about something that was way more fair enough to say relax about.
Tim, relax.
Don't tell me relax.
In this situation, telling Tim to relax when he's been incredibly calm compared to how she was about the vodka is so out of pocket. On top of that, when he then basically goes, hey, you told me that I can't tell you to relax, now you're telling me to relax, she then acts like he's being sensitive.
So wait, I'm sorry. So it actually pissed you off, right? Did it?
It's only fair that you shouldn't say it to me if you don't want me to say it to you.
So then?
It's a two-way street.
Thank you.
The only reason he's getting touchy about the relax is because you made such a big deal about relax last time. Just awful and a prime example of how Sara communicates.
What I was trying to say was it was the reaction that made me feel uneasy. It wasn't the fact that we didn't do it.
I don't know if Tim trusts me or not. I feel like him bringing that up might have indicated that he doesn't. At the same time, it could be a little bit like triggering for him because he had an ex who was also cheating on him. And it could just be like a insecurity from a past relationship as well.
Then we have Tim and Lucinda. So the arc for Tim and Lucinda up until now is Lucinda is really keen on Tim. Tim is being avoidant, dismissive, not opening up, not doing anything sexually, and just being like really blunt and rude. Lucinda basically goes, hey, are you taking anything on board that the experts talked about? Like, I really want to try here. She verbalizes herself really well, and he just starts having an absolute sulk, absolute bitch fit, and storms off.
Okay, I've got a question for you. What is your intention on this experience? I suppose I've got to do, the bending and the compromise and the dance.
Now I'm getting pissed off. I give an answer and you just keep prodding and prodding and prodding. I'm getting pulled across the coals by this conversation, by John, and it's starting to shit me. Yep. So now I'm done. I'm actually done filming. I'm pissed off.
Oh dear.
Just totally embarrassing behavior from Timothy the Tin Man. Are we surprised though? Not really. I called this from week 1. I said he was going to be difficult and he is. This sort of arrogant, dismissive, brash behavior can't be dismissed just because he's grieving. Even worse, after when Tim storms off, Lucinda comes back and she apologizes. She goes, oh, I was way too full on. I don't want you to feel flustered. I don't want you to feel interrogated. It's like, babe, you're being so good. Do not apologize to this man. But then we have the finale. We have the motherload of Colin's cringe. Now, if you remember, Collins and Natalie split up at the dinner party and then surprise, surprise, they were back together. And now it's the second time they've hung out since breaking up. And he comes over and puts on this weird performance where he's like, Nat, it's so good to see ya. Let's play Mario Kart, blah, blah, blah. It's so awkward and weird to watch.
I want to fight for this. I put stay because I think about the times we can play Mario Kart.
Can you tell me times that we've been together apart from the wedding day that's made you happy?
Oh my God. Every moment I see you, I am happy because that's what I'm here for.
Natalie starts calling this out. This feels so performative. I never know if I'm talking to the real Collins.
I cannot communicate with someone who talks to me like we're on the set of Neighbours or Home and Away.
Collins is just coming off so disingenuous here.
God, yeah, I want to fight for this. And I will fight for this.
So good. Thank you.
What was that face?
Oh, just seeing her, I just found it very so cute, just so heartwarming when she's in her element.
You do it again.
It's good to. Wow. Yeah. As soon as I walked in, oh my God.
There's this other part where he talks to the camera and goes, oh, it was so great seeing Natalie in her element. And it's like, what do you mean in her element? Like sitting there waiting at your beck and call with glasses of water? Like, what are you talking about, man?
Looking so good. Thank you very much. Smelling very good. Oh, just seeing her.
Just so heartwarming when she's in her element.
The kids were
Wow, you see. It's good.
in her element getting cups of water from the cabinet for me.
And then on top of that, Natalie finally confronts him and goes, hey, everything you do is fake. Everything feels disingenuous. And he starts like sulking and trying to fake cry and then goes, oh, Nat, I thought we were meant to be on Married at First Sight, but it looks like we're on the show Mind Made Up at First Sight.
Oh, Nat. This is Married at First Sight. I feel like you've just done Mind Made Up at First Sight.
You've just done Mind Made Up at First Sight.
It just feels so...
Get him, Collins! You get what I'm saying?
Just an unbelievable explosion of cringe. Hilarious, hysterical. And this is the last we see of Collins. I think he actually made her cringe so hard she had to leave. So we never see Natalie or Collins again. It's a shame we don't get any more Collins cringe, but at the same time, I'm not sitting there seething every single time this show is on. So for those of you who don't know, it's now time for Intimacy Week. So Intimacy Week is like Confessions Week, but instead of awful truths being revealed about someone's inner psyche, now it's people's deep, dark, depraved sexual kinks coming out. So tasks include anything ranging from a melted hug, which is basically a long hug, to a 5-minute makeout session, to genital cupping. And the results are about as awkward and clunky as you'd expect. A new one this year is they go through a checklist each about what they say yes to and what they say no to in regards to sexual kinks. This is a pretty fun new challenge that Married at First Sight has thrown into the mix. And it has fantastic results with Jack and Tori, which we'll get to. But before we get into that, we have one of the most fantastic Married at First Sight fights we've ever had. This one is just peak Married at First Sight. So the setup here is Lucinda has been begging Timothy to be intimate with her. He refuses to be intimate with her. He says he doesn't feel that sexual energy. But then we find out the night before something's gone wrong. So we're sitting there and we're wondering. And basically Timothy says, hey, if you're going to come to bed, you better come to bed with a shirt on.
I'm just not there. I genuinely want to peel it back and just hit the reset button. Just... maybe come to bed with a shirt on.
This is in response to one night where Lucinda went to bed topless. Now, while this initially feels rather sexist and prudish from Timothy, I did try and put myself in his position and go, oh, maybe he spoke to her about really not wanting to be intimate and it really scaring him, and she came to bed without a top on. It felt like an unwanted sexual advance. Maybe that's why he's upset. But then we find out from Lucinda that he has been sleeping in his boxers the whole experiment, and the moment she comes to bed without a top, he kicks a hissy fit. So at this point, I'm like seething. I'm like, what an asshole. Fuck this guy, right?
Throughout this experience, he's only worn his undies, and I've been like in full pajamas. So if he doesn't like me with my top off, absolutely, but you do the same.
She then really calmly verbalizes to him like, hey, I'm not going to be told off for coming to bed without a shirt when you sleep in your boxers. And in fact, if you're going to tell me to wear a shirt, that's fine. You can start wearing a shirt too. And you're like, okay, she's verbalized herself, 50-50, perfect, right?
It sounds like you've asked me to pop my shirt on, which I'm very happy to do respectfully.
Yep.
And I ask the same of you. Goes both ways.
But then she comes back into the room and goes, yeah, you can start wearing a shirt. Because you know what, Timothy? Because you know what, Timothy? You have boobs too.
Goes both ways.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, same stuff. You've got boobs as well.
Wow.
You've got boobs as well. I mean, because the dude's got a pair of boobs on him, you know. So...
Just amazing. The thing that makes this hysterically funny, the thing that makes this so good is she's been so patient and nurturing and loving. But the moment he oversteps and essentially shames her for who she is as a person, she comes back and goes, fine, I'll body shame you, bitch tits. It's so good. I love it. Genuinely, like, I was in hysterics when this happened.
You've got boobs as well.
Wow.
You've got boobs as well.
I mean, because the dude's got a pair of boots on him, you know. So...
Next, Tim and Sara have to do the whole like hugging exercise. This is just painful because it feels like he's being held hostage. If you remember in the last episode, she literally comes up to him and goes, "We'll talk about this when we get home." So like anytime I see them together, I'm just like, battered wife syndrome. Get out, Tim. I don't like it. As I mentioned before, Jack and Tori do the whole fetish. Yes, no, what are you into? This includes like being filmed for sex. Yes, no, maybe. This includes like missionary, anal, blah, 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 right? And eventually gets to water sports, aka piss play, and Jack goes, "Fuck yeah," and she goes, "Fuck no." The thing I like about this is I don't think Jack's implying he wants to get pissed on. I think he's trying to sell to Tori that him pissing on her would be an awesome experience for her. He starts trying to be like, "Oh, you know, it's actually really fun. Like, you might really get a kick out of it." And she's like, no. My favorite part here, though, is that Tori has been keen to sleep with Jack more than Jack has been keen to sleep with Tori this whole season. But then when she's talking to the producers in the cutaways, she basically says, "Yeah, no chance we're going to be having sex tonight after that revelation." Hilarious, funny, love it. This is what Married at First Sight is for. The only other thing you need to know this episode is that Johnny and Lauren have started having fights again. Essentially, Lauren and Jono are having problems because Lauren thinks Jono is a bit boring and a bit too nice. And here's the thing, I would actually get that. Like, there are people that need to speak their mind a bit more. They are a bit too passive. They are a bit too pushovery. But I don't think Jono is that. I think he's just polite and going along with what the experiment is making him do. And it's weird that she's this combative about it already. But we actually do get some fairly honest revelations and insight into her psyche later on in the commitment ceremony. Now on to episode 11. The episode opens with Tori and Jack doing sex games. This is really awkward. Tori and Jack start doing the genital cupping. She's having these cutaways where she's like, "Oh, it's just cupping. I can't touch it. I want to touch it. You know, we're going to rip our clothes off." Then they get the make-out task, which is essentially making out on a bed for 5 minutes. And Jack goes, "You know what? 5 minutes is too much. Let's do it for 2 minutes." And he pulls away and she clearly wants to go further. So awkward, so uncomfortable. Essentially, the arc at the moment is Tori wants to clap Jack's cheeks, but Jack does not want to clap Tori's cheeks. It's hard to watch. It's painful. Ugh. Next, we have the boys' sex chat with Alessandra. Basically, all the boys meet up with Alessandra, the sex expert, to talk about, I don't know, sex, I guess. There are basically two things of note here. The first one is that Jack basically opens up about the fact that him and Tori aren't sleeping together because he isn't sexually attracted to Tori. Now, this plants a seed for Timothy to start getting really annoyed at Jack, and we'll get to why I think that's gross, but not yet.
Jack said to the boys that sexually he wasn't attracted to Tori, which really surprised me. You can see that Tori's totally into him. Yeah, I wonder if she knows.
But essentially in this sequence, I was actually rather impressed with Jack here. I know this is maybe a hot take. Yes, it's unfortunate that he's not sexually attracted to Tori, and we can sit here and psychoanalyze as to why. However, I actually thought the way he talked about it was rather respectful and just sort of like an unfortunate statement of fact. Like, this is how I'm feeling, and unfortunately that's the way it is. Now, he doesn't sound too keen to work on it. Maybe he just knows in the back of his head that he's never really going to find her as attractive as he should. The next one is we have the girls' sex chat. During this sequence, Cassandra actually reveals that Tristan is having an emotional toll on her well-being. She starts opening up about the fact that his self-doubt, his sort of self-hatred, his personality as a whole, which is a rough thing to reveal, is taking a toll on her. It's pumping the brakes on sexual and romantic intimacy.
I ask you, Cassandra, do you, right now today, do you feel attracted to Tristan?
No.
What is turning you off about Tristan?
His energy, his mood, these thoughts that he's latched onto.
Which I predicted in last week's recap, and it's unfortunate to see that's playing out this early on. And next we have a big reveal. Ali actually reveals that Ben has been mocking her, and by mocking her I mean that whole like apparently Ben has done that to her face. I think what happened is they were having a conversation about make it work, and she goes, "We'll make it work, we'll make it work," or something, and then he starts going, "Oh, we'll make it work, oh, we'll make it work."
I kept saying, I believe you, I believe you. I said it 4 times, and then he was mocking me in a high-pitched voice saying, "I believe you."
I am very much looking forward to talking to Ben at the next commitment ceremony.
We've actually seen Ben mock her on camera when he was talking about the kids thing, where he said like, "Oh, here's a guy with good teeth, I'm gonna have kids with him." It was very, very strange.
But it's not, well, have children with anybody, don't care.
But I'm glad he did it because I can picture what this mocking looked like. The other concern for the girls chat is Ben clearly doesn't want kids, but he just won't say it to her. He keeps beating around the bush whether he wants kids or not. And it feels like one of the girls leaks this to Ben, because then the very next scene that Ali and Ben have together, Ben just sits down and goes, yeah, I called my stepsister and I heard these kids screaming and crying in the background, and I had a revelation, like there were no fireworks, nothing, but I realized I really want kids. So I'm here, like I want kids. It's so fucking strange. I'm not buying it for a second. And I actually think Ben is becoming the next Collins. Like everything he says is just bullshit. I don't know who it's for. I don't know if it's for the cameras. I don't know what is going on. It just doesn't feel right. But next we have an inciting incident for one of the greatest maths fights I've ever seen. So Tim tries to plan a date with Sara. Now Sara explicitly says to the camera, oh my God, I'm so excited. He's planned a little date for us. How sweet, blah, 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 blah.
So, I've booked us a little date.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh, cute.
He comes up to her and says, hey, I'm taking you out for a date tomorrow. Be ready at this time. Wear this. We're going out. Obviously a surprise, but he's got something organized. We hard cut to the next morning, but she's sleeping in because she's gone out for drinks with friends. By the way, the date is at 2 p.m. Even if you need a little sleep in, you can't be up for a 2 p.m. date. Are you serious? But yeah, she's sleeping in. He dims the curtains for her, closes the door, and lets her sleep.
Oh, cute.
You feeling all right?
No, I'm not feeling good.
I tried to take her on a date, and, you know, then she was like, oh, look, I'm a bit hungover. Like, she doesn't want to go on a date because she went out last night with the girls.
I'm just gonna take a nap.
I'm trying to win her over, right? I have planned 3 dates, like 3 weeks in a row now, but she wants to spend a night out with the girls. Cancelling yet another date.
Now this on its own is bad enough, but then he raises it to her and we find out in this conversation that this is the 3rd date in a row she has cancelled on for different reasons, and he says to her, I feel like you're making excuses not to see me. She then starts gaslighting him and manipulating him and saying, well, you're too needy. He catches on to what she's doing, trying to make it an issue about him. So he says, I don't mind if you see your friends or not. I'm not trying to be controlling. It's just the fact that this is the 3rd date you've cancelled on and you keep seeing friends but you can't make time for me. It's really strange.
I'd like to go out with my girlfriends and not have to worry about that kind of stuff.
That is not fair. You cancelled our date. That is what I was frustrated at. I was like, I obviously am trying to plan shit here and I'm trying to take the lead here. You're the one cancelling dates on me. I feel like you don't want to be around me.
They just have this really big blow up and you're watching this woman right in front of this guy just lie to him and manipulate him and basically say like any criticism you have of me is something to do with toxic masculinity or controlling behavior when it's totally valid criticism. And if it was gender swapped, he wouldn't stand a chance. He would be in the hot seat. Now, episode 12 is the dinner party, but before they go to the dinner party, they hang out for a bit and we get the inception to that Timothy Jack thing I mentioned to remember before. Tori bumps into Tin Man, aka Timothy, on the street and Timothy basically starts pressing her going, why haven't you guys slept together? Jack's a really sexual person. You're a really sexual person. Something's not right there. And he said to the boys that he's not into you, so that doesn't seem right. He basically starts ratting on Jack from something that was opened up in Alessandra in their private session and starts trying to bait Tori into having issues in Jack and her's relationship. I'm very impressed with Tori here. She doesn't take the bait at all. She gets back to Jack and goes, he's clearly just jealous and a sad old guy that has nothing to do with his spare time. Hilarious. She then highlights the fact that Tim isn't sleeping with Lucinda, so maybe he should focus on his own garden rather than them. Totally agree with Tori. She's looking so good here, and even Jack's starting to look good here because he's handling it so well. Sara starts talking shit about Tim to the camera and starts going like, he's needy, he's insecure, I can't be around him at the moment. And it's like, babe, you are just lacking in so much self-awareness. What is going on? The guests start arriving to the dinner party. Tim and Sara get there first. Very awkward, very icy. They actually start having a fight as people arrive. Very cringe. The only other thing to highlight before the dinner party begins is Jono starts trying to hype up Tristan and says like, oh, we all go through mental health struggles, we all feel shit about ourselves, we've all been there, like, you know, just focus on the good and blah blah blah. Really, really sweet, like a really nice moment.
Stops you from doing it. It'll stop this repetitive cycle in your mind of negativity towards yourself when it shouldn't be there. Tristan's got some demons that he needs to overcome, and he has a perfect woman to help him with that. stop saying bad things about yourself.
We get this painful, awkward montage where Ali starts trying to talk to the girls and fill them in on the fact that Ben has been mocking her, and also apparently he came up to her and said, "You're not the right girl for me." So she starts trying to tell her friends these awful things Ben has been doing and saying to her. He starts hovering around like a security guard, like a private security detail, trying to make sure she's not talking shit about him. It's so transparent and awkward, and they basically need to scurry off and leave so they can talk about him without him being there, like trying to hear. So painful. When we sit down for the dinner party, Ben gets absolutely grilled from all sides. No one's on his side. No guys are his friends. No girls are his friends, except Ali. Everyone is just coming for him hard. Literally no one on the table is on his corner. Ben is just someone who is so uncomfortably disconnected from everyone around him that he's just kind of like sitting there, copying it, doesn't know what to say. A great little section.
Yeah, I'm at a stage where I'm ready to settle down. If kids are after that, yeah.
So that's not a yes or no answer.
Well, it's not a yes or no question.
It is.
Time will tell.
No, you should have that answer. You should absolutely have that answer.
Exactly.
I literally cannot see him skating through this. He skates through everything and it's like he's full of shit.
If you remember last week, I highlighted this amazing moment where Timothy started talking smack about Jack and Tori, but then Richard cut in and basically shot down Timothy completely. But Timothy, after that complete verbal smackdown, decides to do it again. He starts talking shit to Jack and Tori and goes, "You guys are sexual people. Why aren't you having sex?"
That's a sexual person. You're a sexual person. It's not happening.
We are leaps and bounds ahead of people that maybe even are sleeping together on a connection level.
So you are judging your relationship on others?
absolutely not.
Because you just said we're leaps and bounds ahead of others.
You don't even like your wife.
Oh, that's a little bit cruel.
So fucking weird, by the way. And oh yes, I did actually say I would explain what I think is going on here. Now, do I have proof for this? No, this is purely conjecture on my end. I think I know people pretty well, and on top of that, I have been watching this show for season after season. So I'm going to tell you what I think is going on with Timothy. Timothy does not find Lucinda sexually attractive because she doesn't look like a 20 to 30-year-old. Now, that's pretty standard for cringe dad bod type men, right? Like it just is. However, I think this is linked to something weirder and darker, and what I think is going on is that Timothy looks at Jack and Tori, specifically Tori, and thinks to himself, if I was with Tori, I would be sleeping with Tori all the time. Jack said he likes sex. Why isn't Jack doing it? He's getting vicariously jealous, insecure, and confronted. It's so gross. He's clearly trying to vicariously live through Jack and Tori's sexual exploits. It's so painful to see, and I think this complex he has is revealing itself in just such a clearly obvious Freudian slip. He's calling Jack out for not sleeping with Tori when he's not sleeping with Lucinda. And I think in Timothy's own internal logic, it makes sense to him because he's going, I'm not sleeping with Lucinda because I'm not attracted to Lucinda, but I'm attracted to Tori, so why aren't you sleeping with Tori? It's really weird, it's really uncomfortable, it's really controlling, and I don't think I'm that off base here, especially because as this conversation goes on, as he starts picking at Tori and Jack, someone on the table just calls out and goes, "Didn't you used to date 23-year-olds?" Hilarious.
Yeah, I actually just wanted to crawl into a hole and get under the doona cover and not even be around it.
So fucking funny. Completely embarrasses Lucinda, and I think she clicks into what I was just explaining. I think she goes, oh my god, he's into younger women. He's not into me sexually. It's not some slow burn bullshit. He's been banging 23-year-olds out on the streets. He's just full of shit. And the fact that he's so obsessed with whether Jack and Tori are sleeping together just gives me the grossest vibes ever. It just reminds me of those guys that go up to other guys with girlfriends at school and goes, oh my god, does she send you photos? Can I see? Can I see? Can I see? And everyone's like, what the fuck, dude? The moment where the 23-year-old bomb is revealed is so funny. He's just making a clown of himself, as if Lucinda wants to sit there on the table and watch Timothy go, oh, well, all the girls I've dated previously are slow burns and they've been great relationships. She doesn't want to hear about that, dude. What are you doing? Shut up. After this, the episode peaks with Sara and Tim have an argument. Someone asks Tim if he's okay, and he basically raises the fact that, look, I've been trying to connect with Sara. She's rejected 3 dates in a row. She starts cutting him off, gaslighting right in front of everyone. She starts talking over him. She starts going, no, that's not how it happened. That's not how it happened. Blah, 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 blah.
Hello, Timmy. What's going on, buddy? How you doing, buddy?
I don't know. It's been a tricky few days, isn't it? I'm being portrayed as like a needy, like insecure person. And I was let down about you bailing on the 3rd date in a row. I was let down. I was disappointed.
Cassandra has this amazing moment where she actually calls out Sara directly and goes, hey, you signed up to be married at first sight. It's really weird that you've cut off 3 dates. I feel like if it was gender swapped, like we wouldn't be impressed. Sara has this awful moment where she cuts in through all these valid criticisms of Cassandra and goes, actually, it's pronounced Sara, not Sarah. And it's like, that is such a clear method to just completely throw off someone's valid train of thought. Like, are you serious? Like, oh yes, you've got the moral high ground because she mispronounced your name. Which, by the way, everyone else pronounces her name that way. So I don't know what she's talking about here. Clearly just trying to like throw the argument off its course.
Sarah, I just want to ask you, because he just said he's planned 3 dates with you, and we've left everything behind to be here for this experiment, literally blocked out this time to find a husband, and you've cancelled on 3 dates. Your purpose and priority is your husband to be here and to try and make it work.
Thank you, Cassandra.
Great point.
Great call.
She starts shouting at Tim and starts going, you didn't actually plan a date. He essentially goes, no, come on. Like I said, 2 p.m, wear something nice. Like I had a date planned.
He actually didn't even plan anything. Like he didn't actually say, we're going here and we're doing this. He just said, let's do something on Sunday. Like it's literally
I was like, you're booked out from 2 p.m. Wear something
you didn't.
nice.
She keeps shouting over the top at him. He finally snaps. And yells, yes, I did.
Like it's literally
I was like, you're booked out from 2 p.m. Wear something nice.
No, you didn't. You didn't.
Yes, I did.
That was the 3rd.
No, you can't shut me down.
Yell at me. Don't yell.
You're shutting me down. You're
yell
have a voice. You're not letting me have a voice. Yes.
No.
To which now she can go, oh my God, a man yelled at me. She goes, don't yell at me, storms off. This is really hard to watch. And I think the most hurtful thing I find if I were Tim is the fact that she's willing to take a genuinely nice romantic gesture, which was him planning a date spontaneously, taking the lead, being assertive, being a bit of the man, right? And instead of just being honest and saying like, look, I didn't want to go on the date, I'm sorry. She's willing to gaslight him about this nice gesture and say, you didn't have anything planned. It wasn't good enough for me. You didn't actually have anything planned. Not good enough. It's just so cruel. I don't think I could work past it. If I tried to do something nice and it was twisted like that in such a tragically manipulative way, I'd be like, well, I don't want to be with someone who's willing to twist something romantic like that to win a fight. It reminds me of like if he bought her flowers and went, oh, like I've been trying to make effort, I bought you flowers, and her response was like, well, I never asked for those fucking flowers. Like it's just mean and cruel. I don't know why she would do it. At this point, it's incredibly clear for me that she's only writing Stay to stay on the show and not to stay for Tim. She does not like him. The rest of the episode closes out. Tim tries to apologize and says, look, I'm really sorry for raising my voice, but I wasn't given a chance to speak. I eventually had to resort to that. She starts buying off his head again, storms off again. The girls console her, but you can kind of tell they're a bit like, ah, shit, Sara. And then the episode ends. Jumping right into the commitment ceremony, there are a few highlights. The first one is Timothy and Lucinda. Lucinda basically gets up and after being gracious and quiet and patient all week, just starts like laying into Timothy. She goes, you know, I've been sitting there and for the past week, instead of trying and putting in active effort into this relationship, I've been sitting back and observing. And I've observed a man who is disinterested, dispassionate, can't regulate his emotion, picks fights, gets aggressive in public. Those are all big, conceptual, like massive fundamental things of a person that might not mix with a romantic partner. Like really valid things to bring up, really big concerns. But then she just starts getting petty. She starts going, you know, someone who doesn't clean up after themselves, doesn't dress nice, doesn't brush their teeth before bed.
Yeah, I'm a disaster.
Hilarious. I was in stitches. This was so funny. But yeah, really great to see Lucinda basically bring up all these great points as to why she thinks this relationship isn't going to work, and basically says to Timothy, you know what? I'm done putting in all the effort. I've done my best. It's up to you now. And I actually love that she called him out for basically getting involved in other people's stuff and not tending to his own wife's needs. Fantastic. Loved how she worded it. Lucinda's awesome. Like I have no notes for Lucinda. She's like a great woman. I even love that she got away with basically body shaming Tim. No one has said anything. Tim can't even say anything because it was just like so valid. All right. Like he'd been talking so much shit. Like who gives a fuck, right? But next, the highlight of this commitment ceremony so obviously is Timothy and Sara. Tim and Sara sit down at the couch. This narcissistic, gaslighty woman who the night before sat there and basically yelled and pointed until he snapped and yelled back and then had the audacity to be like, don't ever yell at me, has the audacity to sit down and do this weird like pseudo apology where she goes, I just want to apologize to the group for the fact that you had to come into our relationship drama. I'm sorry for how we behaved. And it's like, babe, Basically what this apology is a power move to essentially put it on him without flat out saying it. She's going, hey, it's nothing I did. It's our relationship. It's a fight that like I was dragged into, and I'm so sorry you had to see what I had to deal with all the time. And it's so good because it cuts the whole group, even the ones that were supporting her the night before, just going, no one's buying it. The experts aren't buying it. And I thought we were going to have to wait for some great payoff with Sara. But Mel literally comes in and goes, you've apologized to the whole group. Is there not someone else you have to apologize for? And she's like, who would that be? And she goes, your husband, Tim. To which the most jaw-dropping moment of the season happens, where she goes, he yelled at me.
He yelled at me.
You were behaving in a really aggressive way throughout the night. You were shouting for quite a length of time.
And it's like, babe, do you think any of us are buying this? By the way, I just want to touch on the whole gaslighty narcissist thing. In the previous season, the word gaslighter and narcissist were thrown around like it was no one's business.
You put words in my mouth.
John literally said you gaslight. You're narcissist, Harrison. You're a narcissist.
I think these terms are getting a bit culturally appropriate. I think people are throwing them around a bit too much, all right? Like, it is very much falling into the category of like toxic boyfriend learns therapy speak. You're constantly seeing the vibe of like, if someone has a disagreement and goes, oh, actually, I did do the bins yesterday. I don't know what you're talking about. Someone goes, you're gaslighting me. Like, these terms are thrown around so comfortably. So I try not to use them, but I don't think I have ever seen a bigger example in Married at First Sight of gaslighting, of narcissistic behavior than Sara. The fact that she thought she was going to be able to get away with like, oh my God, he yelled at me. Like, we didn't all just witness the same emotionally toxic abuse in front of everyone. What are you talking about, woman? In just a great moment, Mel actually confronts her and goes, you need to apologize to Tim. You made him reach his breaking point. You were pointing at him. And she does like this impression. It's really interesting because when she does the point at him, I'm like, oh, she has like a really great demonstration of how that looks. She just roasts Sara and goes, you were pointing at him, you were swearing at him, you were yelling at him, and then when he finally reacts, you know, apparently it's on him. Just an amazing moment. John's sitting back going, yeah, like the whole room is agreeing with her. I love the group's reactions to he yelled at me. This has become a meme on the Married at First Sight community. I'm very happy about that. Cassandra then actually asks, hey, Tim, like I've noticed you're really lively and really bubbly when you're around us, but when you're around Sara, you're like a different person. You're sheltered. You're a lot quieter. Like, are you scared of her? Are you afraid of her? Basically inferring like, are you being emotionally abused? Is she like dulling your sparkle to like a toxic degree? Sara then starts like talking over the top of her. You don't know what goes on behind closed doors. It's like, yeah, because behind closed doors, it's way worse. Like Sara basically starts implying like, if you saw our real relationship, you wouldn't be saying this. It's like, yeah, I'm sure, because if she saw your real relationship, she'd realize just how bad you treat Tim. Like, what are you talking about? The interesting thing here is the way she starts talking over Cassandra and starts like bullying her is clearly what she does to Tim. It's so great to watch Cassandra just not buy any of it. And on top of that, the experts don't actually tell off Cassandra. They agree and then go, Tim, are you afraid of her? And he goes, yeah, I am dimming my energy around her. Really sad to watch. I also just want to say, this was like the first Married at First Sight moment that like sat with me for a while. Like I went to work the next day and was like, oh, like I feel like I've witnessed something I shouldn't. I feel like I've been in a fight. Like that was really, really hard to watch. Like watching someone actually get gaslit, not in like the sense that Married at First Sight usually throws it around, like genuinely watching someone just be lied to and manipulated. And you're sitting there as an audience member going, he didn't say that. He said that. What's she talking about? How could she do that? Is really hard to watch. It actually sat with me. Like it wasn't funny. But in terms of television, just absolutely phenomenal TV. I don't know what is in the water in Married at First Sight Season 11, but this is off to a great, great start. Thank you so much for watching. I'll do another weekly recap next week. Have a lovely day.
You get what I'm saying?